Now we're going to start looking at Attorney General candidates. First, Mr. Brownlee.
Thank you.
For coming up.
You bet. Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Good evening. How are you all doing tonight? Great. All right. I want to begin by thanking you for allowing me to be here, and I want to thank you for what you do. Okay? You are on the front lines of protecting the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. That is a very important thing that you do. And I want to thank you for it, because you're on the ground, you're in the trenches, you're here tonight, a week or so before Christmas, defending the Second Amendment. And that is a very important constitutional right, and as the United States Supreme Court has mandated, it's significant as any other constitutional right. And sometimes in America, we forget that. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for protecting the United States Constitution. My name is John Brownlee, and I'm running to be Virginia's next Attorney General. And I want to ask for your support. And I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about who I am, my values, the Second Amendment, and why I think you should support me for Attorney General. Okay. I was a Army brat growing up. My dad was in the Army, got called away to Vietnam a couple of times, served in 173rd Airborne, and wounded in action. And so when I was growing up, we kind of moved all over the world. But when I was 14, I moved right here, Fairfax County, Virginia. I went to Robinson High School, graduated in 1983, went to Washington Lee University on ROTC scholarship. And then when I left college, I went to the Army as well. I went to the infantry. I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia. I went to the Infantry Officer Basic Course, went to Airborne School, went to Ranger School. I've been awarded the Expert Infantryman badge. For you who don't know what that means you have to qualify expert with an M16A2 rifle and a 9mm. Okay? For some of you who aren't as good a shot as me, that can be tough. I did my 4 years on active duty, left, and went to law school. Okay? When I finished law school, I clerked for a federal judge for a couple of years, and then I became a prosecutor. Okay? What I wanted to do, I wanted to take this education that I had, I wanted to take this training that I had, and I wanted to go into courtrooms, and I wanted to fight for justice. And that is significant. It is an important component to the Second Amendment. Why? Why is being a prosecutor, why is fighting for justice important to your Second Amendment rights? Because when people go after the Second Amendment, they go after it through public safety. What do they say when they want to take away our gun rights? It's for the children. It's for the children. It's for public safety. Right? Isn't that it?
Common sense.
That's what they say. That's right. Isn't that their argument? Take away your gun rights and somehow we'll be a safer society. Okay? Well, let me just tell you what. I've been in these courtrooms. Okay, I've been in there prosecuting these bad guys, violent criminals, rapists, robbers, child predators. I can tell you that gun control doesn't enhance public safety. You know how you make a safe community? You take the violent offenders and you bust them and you remove them. That's how you make communities and neighborhoods and schools safe. Not by restricting your constitutional right. Okay? That is significant. And it's significant in this race for this reason. Is that because I've been doing just that, and I'm the only candidate for Attorney General, at least on the Republican side, who has done that, who has been a prosecutor, who's gone into court and gone after these bad guys. It gives me an enormous amount of credibility when I go out there as Attorney General to defend the Second Amendment. I don't just talk about it. I just don't talk about it in these kind of broad terms. Because I know how to make societies and neighborhoods and communities safer. And it's not through gun control. When I was first appointed U.S. Attorney, in 2001, John Ashcroft was my boss. Now, John Ashcroft's important to this Heller decision because he was the Attorney General of the United States who really pushed challenging these D.C. gun bans. And he was my boss. And he told me in no uncertain terms, we don't need new gun laws because you go enforce the ones we have. You go get the guns away from the criminals and the felons and the rapists. And that's how you make a society safer. And we did that. My first 2 years as U.S. Attorney, we increased the prosecutions of violent offenders with firearms by 135%. And guess what happened? Violent crime went down. Now, I know you're amazed and shocked at this. If you lock up bad guys, there'll be less violent crime. Some people don't get it. Okay, well, I get it. And I've done it. And it's important. So my view of the Second Amendment are really twofold. Number one, it is a constitutional right. Okay, when people talk about the Second Amendment, if you're sitting around a dinner table at Christmas time and people start talking about gun control, call a timeout. Rule number one, it is a constitutional right. The Supreme Court has said so. It's not just a general right, it is an individual right. This gentleman right here has an individual constitutional right to keep and bear his firearms. He has it, and so do you, and so does everyone in this room. And that's significant when you talk about this right. It's just as important as the First, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, the Eighth, all of them. Very important, individual right. The second thing is, it's a liberty issue. It's about freedom. If you have a constitutional right, the right must be defended. And then the third thing is that the alternative, what they fight for, which is restriction of that right, their only argument is public safety. And I can tell you firsthand, it doesn't work. It's important, and this race is important for Attorney General, because we need a candidate to actually make that argument. And I've been making it all my life. Okay? Now, why? Why should you support me for Attorney General other than these things? Well, the Attorney General's unique position in Virginia. Okay? You have to have certain qualifications to be Attorney General. One of them is you got to be a lawyer. Probably unfortunate, but you do have to be a lawyer to be Attorney General. It's kind of in the name. But the voters of Virginia have given us some other requirements, and they're important. And one of those requirements is you've got to be a prosecutor. If you go back 24 years, 6 terms of attorneys general in Virginia, 5 of those 6 were filled by prosecutors. And every time the voters have had a choice, they picked a prosecutor. Every time. So the voters of Virginia have made it clear what their expectations for this job is. They want a conservative. I mean, look who we've elected. Jerry Kilgore, Jim Gilmore, Bob McDonald. Conservative. They want a prosecutor. And all those guys were prosecutors. Now, when it comes to this race, I'm running against 2 good people. Senator Cuccinelli, where is he? He's there somewhere. This guy has been a warrior for the Second Amendment in the state Senate. Warrior. You know that. And you know him. Okay? He's been in there fighting. And I think that's significant. In fact, I say jokingly, I'm going to do everything I can to keep him in the state Senate. We're talking about the Attorney General. We're talking about this state's top prosecutor. We're talking about this state's top law enforcement official. On a Republican ticket, there is only one candidate who's ever been a prosecutor, and it is significant. It is the difference between winning and losing. Last thing I'll talk to you before I open it up for questions is I'm also the only veteran running. Just got to meet Tom Callahan back here. Helicopter pilot, Vietnam era. Used to fly out of Rucker. Okay. I bet there's a lot of veterans in this room. Okay. It's important. Why? 15% of the electorate in Virginia are veterans. And they vote for their own. As I said, when I left college, I went to the infantry. Now, I went on an ROTC scholarship. I have to tell you, when I was in college and I got the bill and it said amount due, it said 00, boy, that ROTC scholarship seemed like a really good idea. A few years later, I'm standing on an airplane, hooked up, parachute on, green light goes off, and somebody tells me to jump out of that thing, and I tell you, it didn't seem like such a brilliant idea. But that veteran status is important again. If you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you want a candidate who's going to go out there and defend your Second Amendment rights and other constitutional rights, Mr. Muldoon talked about right to life and all these other very important values for our party, okay, we have our backs up against the wall. And we have to nominate great candidates, but great candidates who can win. And that's what we're talking about here. So, I've gone on long enough. I want to open it up for questions and do my very best to answer them. And I really appreciate you.